Hello and welcome back to the show. Today it is just myself, and together we are going to be exploring a bit more in depth what the lonely chapter is, when you might have been in a lonely chapter yourself, and I will also be discussing a number of ideas that I have been reflecting on recently. Thank you for listening. This one was made for your enjoyment. So I want to start off today just recapping what the lonely chapter is. It's an idea coined by Chris Williamson and Alex Hormozy. During self-improvement, there will be a time where you've started to do new things or formed new habits. And because of that, you don't fit in anymore with your old set of friends, but you also don't have the outcomes yet to fit in with a new group of friends. So what does that look like realistically? Maybe you've started studying something new or training for a big event, and because of that, you've stopped going out as much of a weekend. Your mates who you go out with start questioning why that is, say, oh, look at you staying home reading instead of coming out drinking. There comes a point where you have to leave them behind if they're not willing to accept the change that you are making. Everyone who has done something with their life or will do something with their life will go through this phase at some point. So that's a bit about what the lonely chapter is. Now, what will the podcast actually be about? Well, we're going to be interviewing people, finding out their life stories, obstacles they've had to overcome in their lives, lessons that they've learned along the way, and most importantly, I think, is the practical takeaways that you and I can take away and implement in our own lives to help us on this journey. We'll be looking to speak to experts in their fields and finding out more information about various subjects, digging in to the depths of their knowledge and trying to extract that for ourselves. So why does the lonely chapter resonate with me personally? At age 24, I went sober for 2 years. I'd come out of a long-term relationship and I'd gone into 6 months of boozing, not training, always tired, and I just generally didn't like who I was becoming. Making the decision to stop, to start learning about self-improvement using YouTube, podcasts and other sources, I started to realise that I had groups around me who I only ever saw when I went drinking. They weren't really friends, they were more drinking partners. I never actually saw them when we were sober. Maybe this is something that you have, and if you think about it, you realise that you have the same thing. As I went on to this journey and as the months went by, as I started that 2 years of sobriety, I started getting messaged by them less and less to go out. I realised that they only fed the bit of me that I was on this journey to get rid of. And at that point, I realised that I had to just cut them out and leave them behind. Not that they were awful people, they just didn't go along with what I was trying to do at that time. I remember on nights out or when I said that I wouldn't be going out, there was phrases like, don't be boring, just have one. Why can't you do that? Now, these always came out early in the night, and by the end of the night, they would be absolutely steaming. They'd come up to me and they'd tell me they actually respect what I'm doing and they wish they could do it. And that actually made me more invested in what I was doing. Maybe this resonates with you, and maybe you've been in the lonely chapter before. Maybe you're currently in one. Maybe you've started a business and you've got friends saying, well, that will never work. Why are you wasting your time on that? Maybe you've started training for a big event, something that you've never done before, it excites you, but it also scares you. Early start, so you're not going out the night before because you've got to get up and go for a run. Maybe, like me, it's sobriety or cutting down on that party lifestyle as much. Maybe you don't resonate with it right now, but one day you may, and hopefully together we will go on that journey. Or maybe it's something totally different. But whatever's brought you here, hopefully it can bring you some value, and let's go on this journey together. So I want to talk a bit now about 3 ideas that I've been reflecting on recently. Idea number 1 is called Mills Trident. I read about it in an article by Greg Lukianoff and Adam Goldstein. It's about highlighting the importance of free speech and it is based on John Stuart Mill's observation in his 1859 masterpiece on liberty. In any argument, there are only three possibilities. You are either wholly wrong, partially wrong, or wholly correct. If you are wrong, freedom of speech is essential to allow people to correct you. If you are partially wrong, free speech and contrary viewpoints will help you get even closer to the truth. If you're 100% correct, which is unlikely, you still require free speech for dissent, disagreement, and attempts to disprove you, both to check your arguments and to strengthen them. If you are 100% correct, then why would you worry about dissent? The reason is, if you've never had to defend your points of view, there's a very good chance you don't really understand them. If you don't fully understand them, then you're holding on to them the same way you would hold a prejudice or a superstition, and that is irrationally. It's all about the why. Now, personally, the first 2 points about being wrong or partially wrong I understood, and at first I wasn't too sure why you would need free speech if you were 100% correct. But I never thought of it in this way, and I think it's such a good, eye-opening idea that free speech gives you the opportunity to defend your viewpoint, which is correct in this instance, and in doing so strengthens your understanding of that viewpoint and why that is correct. The second idea that I want to touch on is one that I've known about for a while now, and it's the Stoic phrase, memento mori, which is Latin for remember you must die. On the face of it, it sounds pretty bleak, I will admit. It's about living in the present, trying to minimise fearing for the future. The future's not guaranteed. Tomorrow could be my last day, but it could also be the last day for someone close to me. So it's about enjoying every interaction and appreciating everything. Always being present and being mindful that you never know when your last day will be. The third and final idea that I want to touch on today is one that I read about again quite recently, and it's about using words that describe an action to describe a person. The idea is that you don't call somebody by the description of an action. When people use terms like racist or sexist to describe a person, well, those are descriptions of an action. It's a racist action or it's a sexist action. As soon as you use a word like racist or sexist to describe a person as a whole, you're effectively writing them off from ever righting their wrongs. I love this idea because I think it's something that, especially nowadays, we are so used to doing. Someone will say something that's not quite in line with other people's thinking, and immediately it is, this person is a racist, this person is a sexist, this person is a misogynist. And whilst they may say those things, that doesn't immediately make them that. I think it's important to think about the words we're using and to be mindful that just because someone has said something that may be sexist, it doesn't make them sexist. Not everything they do in their life is a sexist act. So I'm going to leave you with those three ideas today. Have a think about them, and I would love to hear any ideas that you've been reflecting on recently. So feel free to send me some of your favourite ideas over on Instagram at Lonely Chapter Podcast or on X at Lonely_Chapter. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next time.